Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. I am playing around with a new feature on StreamYard. So we're going to be doing this intro twice because if you were already watching, it kind of did the intro. Yeah, learning new features and I'm playing around. So we're going to try this again and I'll see you in a second. If it'll play. And the sound didn't come through. Okay, so we'll make notes. But this is why you guys watch a live, right? So you can see the backsides of everything. So we're going to redo the intro so that we have it set up for the talking bits. Or the talking points. So 3, 2, 1. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, no matter where you are in the world. I am KibbyRose. We are here today for another talking points and those 20-minute sprints that we so much love to do. I also got some things I want to show off since, Halloween or Samhain, for those of us that celebrate it, is tomorrow. And I do celebrate with the little kiddos, and I have some things that I've set up and I've worked on for my costume that I want to show off. And then we've got our normal talking points. First of all, because it's the season, and it happens to land on my birthday, please do not talk about any politics. This is not a political channel. We don't do any of that the political thingies or discussions or conversations. I don't mind if you are political, just not on my channel. There are other places and spaces that you can attend to those things. So for those of you that are here just for the talking points of everything else, welcome. Mods will be heeding any political conversation in the comments. So just be aware of that. We're going to be covering quite a few things because I'm going to recap real quick about the Sarah Boone case that I've covered in a couple live streams. We're also going to touch base on the Baldwin trial because I've been following that, but that was before I started live streaming things. So there has been some interesting movement in that, simply because if you honestly haven't been watching, you're going to want to watch the Baldwin reality show because I'm pretty sure that they're going to make it a topic of discussion on their show. I would, truthfully, if I was a producer, I would be so excited for this. So we're going to cover some law nerdy things. I'm also going to cover some solar activity that's been going off already and the November cosmic activities that you should be aware of. And then I've got some influencer predictions that I'm going to be putting out there. And I have a call out to a creator to see if maybe I can get their attention because I think I did a reading for them in the past. And then we're going to touch on Disney, Mr. Beast, and the Gen Z job situation that's going on. So that's what we're going to cover across this full hour of both talking points and sprints. I think, or actually it's 2 hours of talking points and sprints. Because for those who are new here, what we do is we do 20 minutes of talking points, which I actually have to do this real quick. We do 20 minutes of talking points and then 20 minutes of sprints. Because I'm an author and a writer, I am also, since half the time my brain is interested in current events because I'm a psychic and I like seeing that side of things. There's the other side of me is writing a book. I'm currently editing 300 pages of my first book. And that's what we do on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, I finish the outline for books 2 and 3, which is currently in the works. I was hoping to have the book that I'm working on, the Rosen Chronicles, the Penitentiary. I was hoping to have it published by the end of this year. Life happens. And for those of you that have listened, I'm not going to go into it, but I had an editor pull, and that's just what it is. So I am going to be working on editing the first chapter of my book because I finally got the program that I'm using set up the way I want it to be set up. And yeah, I got it all set up in the background. So, but first thing I kind of want to show off is, since I am kind of a Victorian, this is the top half of my Halloween costume. I've already showed it off before. So I'm kind of an old Victorian witch type thing. I have lost my cape and my hat in the last couple of years because of situations. So I was able to create a mask. So this will be part of my costume for tomorrow when I set up the whole front to celebrate with the kids, because I'm going to set up my whole front yard, or not front yard, correction. I'm going to set up my front porch the way I usually set up for like events with my booth, when I do psychic readings, and I'm going to kind of offer psychic readings or, whatever else in my business card to the adults while I hand out candy to the kids. And I figured it was a good way to just kind of like, introduce myself to the community, since I'm kind of struggling here, and I have been for the last 10 months. So that is just one thing I wanted to show off because I'm quite proud of it. It was a regular mask that I was able to modify, so it became a holding one. And it matches my costume a little bit better. And I love masquerades. Phantom of the Opera is one of my favorite musicals, because that's another hidden side of me, isn't it? I love musicals because my mother that's along with being part of Disney and taking her choir to production at Disney and everything else, she actually did her own musicals, and they were Broadway quality productions. So I was brought up singing songs from Phone to Grease to Oliver to Les Miserables to Brigadoon to Oklahoma. I was in Oklahoma. And I love musicals. So I have no idea how I got on that topic. But going to our talking points, the first thing I wanted to touch on was the Sarah Boone trial. As you all know, I've been talking about the major drama that's been going on with the Sarah Boone trial because it got a little crazy there. At first, it was just calm, collect. I thought it was going to be a real calm trial, and the beginning of it was crazy with jury selection and everything else or prior to jury selection. Then it kind of smoothed itself out, and then halfway through the trial, it was almost like the lawyers were like, we're not getting our 5 minutes of fame. So it's like they kicked it up a notch. Well, on Friday, not only did they finish, or last Friday, I believe, not only did they finish closing arguments, but the jury was dismissed and actually came back with a full verdict. And she was found guilty. We're now waiting on sentencing, which I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen. I'm keeping up with, for anybody who needs to keep up with it, go to Emily D. Baker's channel, follow her, because she will be basically doing quick bits and stuff. I know she will, when it comes to the sentencing of Sarah Boone. And then the Baldwin trial. For those of you who haven't know, because I haven't really discussed this that much on my channel. So for those of you who don't know, Alec Baldwin had an incident happen on one of his sets, the movie Rust. And several people were found and charged with several things. Some people in this situation got off free willy-nilly, which I threw a fit about. I fully believe that the props manager should have had some sort of I don't think he should have gotten a plea deal in all of it. However, Alec Baldwin was also put on trial along with one other lady, the props young lady. I forget her. I can't believe I forgot her name, but it's been a minute. There's so many trials going on right now. However, let me get back to it. Alec Baldwin's case, they actually dismissed it. The whole thing was dismissed because the prosecutor, Carrie Morrissey, if I've ever seen an adult throw a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old, using not only her position of power, but her lackluster basis of knowledge to try to create an example out of somebody, it failed miserably. And the way she's been filing indictments, the fact that she has had completely lackluster arguments, the fact that she can't seem to obey or follow the court's rules in any sense of the word, if it wasn't for me following other trials with other public prosecutors, I would be highly concerned about our system. However, she is one out of, it's one of those things like, I'm a psychic. I know how bad the reputations of psychics have. I'm not going to apply the same thing to lawyers. But Carrie Morrissey has definitely shown that there's certain people that you should go through vetting your lawyers a little bit more than just trusting on reputation. I am actually very angry because I really do feel that Baldwin could have been, this whole entire case could have been used to set an example that the industry needs to start paying far more attention to the safety standards on set. Even I agree with this in my own experience. However, she failed miserably at the task at hand. And it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like she's going to become the meme of, you only had one job. In other words, for all of you practicing attorneys or lawyers out there, if new evidence comes into your case, whether you think it applies or not, don't ever assume. Always double check, because the last thing you want to go through is what Carrie Morrissey went through, where the judge literally opened the evidence bag on the stand and proved you wrong live to the general public. It was bad. So if you are interested in getting even more information, again, I highly recommend Emily D. Baker's channel. She literally does quick bits on this. She's got playlists lined up. You go into her playlist, you go, okay, who do I want to look at? Scroll, scroll, scroll. She's got so many cases under there, from Murdoch to Baldwin to Boone to, she even did the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. So if you want more information, I highly recommend going and clicking on her playlist and playing it in the background and listening and enjoying. So the second thing I wanted to touch base on, because we got about 10 more minutes, I got 10 more minutes of talking points, is the solar activity that's going off again. We know if you haven't been watching, and for those who have been watching, you already know. For those who haven't been watching, we have been in a solar max for quite some time now. We are heading towards the end of it. I would say that we peaked. We were at the peak and we're starting to come out of the peak. However, we just had another huge solar blast that hit us yesterday. That would be 1029 for any of you watching this in the future. And it was about approximately, it was in the afternoon. It was late in the afternoon. I would have to look on my receipt, because going back on Stephen Barnes, thank you for this information again. I did it when I was watching the video. I matched up the time to a receipt I had at a store that I was at. And I figured out that there just happened to be a person that I was talking to about how, like, I could see he needed help. And he wasn't reaching out to me because money was an issue. And it was one of those things where I was like, look, I can see that you need help. I have no problem helping you. We'll figure it out. But I've come across him once before and I've already given him my card. And this is like the second time. And it was one of those things where I was like, so the solar flare erupted at the same time that I just so happened was talking to this gentleman to call me, because he needs reading. I can help him and I want to help him. So that happened, and we're supposed to supposed to get the actual impact of the solar flare on November 1st. For those of you who pay attention to this, that means that it's going to be a side swipe. However, the angels are telling me that this is because of how big of a arc that this was. And that's actually what I said when I saw the video. I was like I was shocked of how big I literally said, that's an arc. I said, that's not a flare, that's an arc. And my angels were like, bingo. And I was like, so this last solar flare, we all anybody who is in tune pretty much had been getting downloads, and our dreams have been wonky. Well, it's about to happen again. So, NASA's model does show that it just sweeps by the planet. However, the angels are referencing that this is going to just compound the energies that are already influencing our dreams and the downloads of information. So for those of you that are like me and are aware, and like Stefan and like my client who are aware of their dreams and are able to recognize events within their dreams, I too remember about a week ago having 2 nights of dreams where I remember telling myself in the dream, just stay cool, just stay calm. Don't forget, like it was this overwhelming feeling within the dream, because I was aware within the dream that they were trying to scare me, that they were trying to cause a fear reaction. And I was just like, I've been here before. And that's another thing is I remember is that they used a dream that I had already been through to do this. And I remember thinking within the dream, why am I in this room again? Why? There's the bunk beds, there's the concrete walls, there's the concrete window that looks out on the stairs. Why am I? And then all of a sudden it flashed to where I was sitting on the top bunk bed and we were having the conversation. And I just remember thinking, stay calm, stay cool, because the conversation within the room was different. The intenseness of the people and how angry they were within the room. It was one of those things where I actually, for the first time I had that dream, I was all cuddled up with the girl that I was sitting with, just like enjoying the conversation. This time I was literally glancing at the window to the stairs going, okay, if it gets bad, that's my way out. And it was very interesting that when Stefan Barnes was talking about this in his channel, I literally looked at him and dropped jaw, and I was like, that is so weird, because I literally woke up from that dream, which, to tell you the truth, I don't remember that much of my dreams currently. And I think it's because I have to recall so much of my dreams for my book that I only remember certain dreams. And that's why I thought it was weird, because I actually have this event written in my book. And it was like, why are you using, like, my dreams don't repeat like that after the, like, correction, I need to correct that, because my storylines, they did repeat technically, because I viewed them from different viewpoints, but I never repeated from the same viewpoint. And it was like they were using a dream that I'd had before from somebody's viewpoint, but they changed it, and just, it was off. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, they were trying to make me uncomfortable. They were trying to scare me. They were trying to make me nervous. And I had to stay calm. Like, the whole trick of it was to stay calm. And as soon as I finished telling myself, stay calm, they're trying to scare you, it's not going to work, the dream ended. And I just remember waking up thinking, that was odd. So just be warned that we are getting precursors, warnings, messages, downloads from our angels with these solar flares. There's something going on where they're using the influence of the Schumann resonance and the way it's affecting our bioelectrics to be able to transmit the energies in different signals, where the messages are coming through clearer, stronger, and with more intention and more meaning. And it's like they're referencing that there's so many people on the planet right now that are actually getting the message, and it's working so well that they're like, we're not going to stop. As long as the sun keeps throwing this stuff, we're going to be using this to our advantage. So they're, on that note, they're like, next line, please. There is a bigger sunspot. The biggest sunspot that let off the largest coronal ejection that we've seen in 2025 is starting to rotate into our direction, and will be like, I think either today, which is October 30th, or tomorrow, October 31st, it'll actually be in direct line with the Earth, which I think is interesting that it lines up with the lifting of the veil. So I have a very strong feeling that we're going to see a very big solar flare on the night of Halloween, of Shaman. I just have this weird feeling that at midnight, like cosmic time, when the veil lifts, we're going to get a solar flare that's going to really impact things. So that is what's going on with the sun. Now I have November's cosmic activity that you need to pay attention to if you are in tune with the energies and how they influence us. Okay. So, and for those of you that want to, grab a piece of paper, because I'm literally going to start with November 1st, going all the way through November 20th, and kind of giving you a little detail in between of how the angels are telling me this is going to influence everything. Okay, so starting November 1st, which is very interesting that this is also lining up with the possible huge flare, the lifting of the veil, possible huge flare, how the activities on the planet are moving, is the first new moon of November. So November 1st, literally the day after the lifting of the veil, we have a new moon. For those of you that understand the significant impact of that, when the veil lifts, supposedly the goddess Persephone moves from above to below. The new moon happening on the first day that she happens to be below is very significant, because pretty much she's starting her new rotation down below, and it's the new moon. Okay. On the 5th, the moon meets Venus, which is very interesting, because Persephone's story is that she goes down there for Hades. From what I understand, and this is not the information I'm about to give you is, yes, I understand the histories of the ancients. Yes, I've done my Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, all of it. I've deep dived in it. I am an ancient alien fanatic. Okay. However, I hear that Persephone, since he's down there and he does the job that nobody else can do, he deserves love. So Persephone goes down there because for 6 months out of the year, Hades has to do his job down there and not know love. And so she goes, and yes, he kidnapped her, but this is, from what I understand, over millennial of time. Like, we understand what happened the first time. This is what's happened after they've matured and grown, millennia of this happening. Is like Persephone understands now that yes, there is a purpose. It's not fair that Hades has to do this job just because he's good at it. There's other jobs that he'd probably rather do, but nobody else can do his job. So it's only fair that he gets to know love for 6 months. So I thought it was interesting that on the 5th of November, the moon meets Venus, which is also 2 days before my birthday. And I was just like, because for those of you that don't know, I do attune to the goddess Persephone. And then on the 10th of November, the moon and Saturn have their closest conjunction. And if you know who Saturn is closest to, I just think it's who Saturn represents. I think that's interesting as well as the next step in things. On the 12th, we're having a meteor shower that will be visible. So, and they're predicting possibly 5 meteors per hour. So it's a little bit of a slower meteor shower, but it's kind of like, hey, they're celebrating, they're celebrating something very interesting. And then on the 15th, the exact dead center of the month, we have our last supermoon, and it's called the Beaver Moon. So, and for us water signs, we all know what beavers do. We change direction. They change directions of things. They build their home. They'll settle their little booties down. And next thing you know, there's a whole nother area that is instilling wildlife. And, if you actually look into what beavers do, it's awesome. Yes, I know the beaver moon doesn't necessarily mean that, but I see a connection in it. And that's, if it makes sense with the connection, I roll with it. So that's how that is. Also on the 15th, at the same time, when just at 5 days after the moon was in conjunction with it, Saturn ends its retrograde. So it's almost like mom slides right in. It's just like, hey, sweetheart, we're going to fix this for a second. And then she fixes Saturn to go back out of retrograde. Yes, it has to do with the way that the Earth is aligned with Saturn. However, it is coincidental. On the 16th, Uranus is at its furthest opposition. It also on the 16th, the moon passes through the Pleiades. So the moon meets with the 7 sisters right on the 16th. So, 16th, 17th. So I thought that was coincidental as well, that on the evening of the 16th going into the 17th, the moon will be passing through the Pleiades, which is also known as the 7 sisters. And then on the 18th, we're going to have the Leonoids meteor shower. And this, if you guys have never seen a meteor shower, I highly recommend going to NASA's website and seeing the trajectory of where it's visible. This is one of those meteor showers where they have hundreds within an hour, and you'll have 5 to 10 probably every minute. So I highly recommend, if you've never seen a meteor shower, or you have little ones that have never seen a meteor shower, to get out there on the 18th and check out the night sky. Okay. And then on the 20th, the moon goes into conjunction with Mars, and Mercury is at its highest point. So I think it's interesting that at the 5th of November, the moon meets Venus. And at the 20th of November, the moon is in conjunction with Mars. Because if you know who Mars and Venus are in history, then you understand why this happening during Persephone's shift to the underworld is very interesting. So, and for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, Mercury will be at its highest point in the sky on the 20th. So those were the talking points that I wanted to cover here at the beginning. And now we're going to jump into our little 20-minute sprint, because we do need to get work done, and we're already 6 minutes over where we were supposed to start our sprint. The next talking points are going to be my influencers and my predictions kind of them. So if you know any of these influencers that I mentioned, I would love for you to get the message out to them. And then I'm going to touch on Disney. I got a few more things. Yes, because I'm a Disney stan. I did put in my talking points, if you go back to my talking points and watch when I was ranting about Disney, I did add a moment where I added a bunch of pictures from my years throughout Disney, from when I was like, I couldn't find any of when I was really, really young, because when I was homeless, somebody hacked into my iTunes account or my iCloud account and deleted everything. So there's a lot of pictures that I lost from my childhood, but I have some from my 20s on up. So during the sprint too, if you want to go check that out, I do recommend it. So we're going to add this to our board, and we're going to set that. We already got it set, but we're going to sprint for 20 minutes, and I'm going to get some work done, and I will see you guys in 20 minutes. All right. And don't forget to mute yourself. Hello, hello, welcome back. So I just realized just now that I forgot to put the music on. So, because the timer, even though I have music on my timer, it doesn't come through for some reason. StreamYard issues. Yeah, as Emily puts it, once there's other options available, we will be moving as well. However, I forgot about the music. I will put it on next time. Sorry that was so quiet for all of you watching the timer. I hope hopefully you had your own music in with your own headphones or doing your own thing. But welcome back. We're back to do another 20 minutes of talking points. Basically, I'm going to cover like I said before, the next topics I'm going to cover are the influencers and my predictions. And then I have a shout out to a creator that I need to kind of make because I have a feeling, but I need to check. And then, yeah, we might go into Disney after that. I do want to pop into the comments and say hello to Jeannie. Hello, my genie in a bottle. I hope that you are doing well and you're settled in. I saw that you just moved to Alabama, moved into an apartment. That's right, in Alabama. So I hope everything is going well for you. And I hope all the grandkiddies are doing great. And I know that you probably have a lot coming for the holidays with Halloween, with how many kiddos and everything else. I'm so happy and super excited for you. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that I can rattle your ear off with some interesting, maybe topics you haven't heard before or not even interested in, but at least I can entertain you for a minute. So the next thing I wanted to go into is I want to thank, first of all, the Viewer's Choice, the YouTube channel, the Viewer's Choice, and Dustin Daily. Yes, they're two separate channels, but the two of them are a couple, and I absolutely love them. I'm always listening and always commenting, and they heart my comments all the time, so I know they see me. But they were talking in their most recent video that actually went up today or yesterday. I was watching it today about Gypsy Rose and the situation going on there. And I've stayed quiet on this because I know my opinion is going to be very controversial. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that probably throw a hissy fit about this, but I've even questioned this, but things are as I see them as I see them, and it hasn't changed this entire time from her trial to now. And I'm only saying this now because there's a part of me that is a slight bit worried. And I'm hearing that everything happens for a reason and the truth is going to be exposed. But let me go into what I'm basically trying to say here. So when it comes to this person, there's something about this where I don't think this is a by proxy type situation. I do believe this person, from what I can see from day one, was extremely smart. They figured out the maneuverings of the world and how to work around it. I don't believe that her behavior at all has changed in her trying to convince the public and rewrite history and be famous. I think this is just a continuation of behavior that she got away with. She figured out how to get away with, and it worked. And so she's continuing with the behavior. What I'm hearing is the by proxy is going to come into play when she has her child, because the father is the original person, the first guy, and not what they think it is. I've heard since this whole thing as to like, why did this person and her partner after the split continue with their TikToks and their YouTubes and everything else? Contractual agreements. I believe Lifetime had a contract with them, and because of the situation that happened, just because they decided to get divorced doesn't mean that null and voided anything about their contract. So I do believe that this the truth is inevitably going to come out. From what I'm hearing from the other side, this shift, just like it is tearing down the pyramid in Hollywood with the elites, and just how this is going to fall and expose that Diddy is just the middleman, Lou Taylor and a lot of the people that were connected to Weinstein and Epstein that got away with stuff, they're going to get caught. There will be no rug after this. The rug was lifted and blown up and floated in the air for a minute, but now the rug is gone. The rug is freaking gone. And Gypsy tried to do the same maneuvering that the rest of Hollywood does. And I feel like that the elites and everybody else, all the angels, all the entities on the other side are done. They're done with this falsity. They're done with this BS. And the industry is going to be rewritten by this time next year. And it's going to be rewritten by the fans. And I am seeing this influx. And there's somebody, I forget who said it, but I thought this was the greatest analogy, even though, like I said, we don't get into politics. This was, I thought, the greatest analogy that I'd heard about how to umbrella everything that's going on. And they said, the more people, the more Hollywood people that support Harris, the more it's starting to look like a Diddy party. And they're not wrong. So we're going to leave it on that because, yeah, it's very clear, even with how Hollywood is moving out of California, how Governor Newsom, or Nuisance, as I like to call him, is trying to give tax breaks to Hollywood elites to try to keep them there. It's not going to work. And it's simply because it doesn't matter the cost breaks or the tax breaks you get. When the cost of living of just paying, when you have a one bedroom, when the cost in California is having a one bedroom apartment and it costs, and it's like over $2,200 a month just to survive with water, electricity, garbage, rent. Like, that's not including gas, groceries, or anything else. It's no wonder that Hollywood is like, we're done. You can't hire a low-paying actor or actress to star in a movie in Hollywood simply because they don't cover the cost of living there. I mean, even Arby's is piecing out of SoCal because $20. I understand why you have to raise the minimum wage to $20 a month to allow people that work at fast food restaurants to afford the cost of living. However, we need to look at the fact that we need to lower the cost of living. That's the problem. So anyway, that's my rant on that because it's going down. The fakeness is going down. And I really feel like that it's already like, another example I can use is the same situation with the Wicked actress and with Rachel Zegler. It's getting to the point where, like, if you can't attack the fans and expect to be able to make money in the industry. Because it's almost like a lot of people within Disney and Hollywood forgot that it's not the people that attend these freak off parties that actually spend the money to make it I mean, yes, they chose who got to be famous. I mean, in my opinion, and from my personal experience, the freak off parties were you paying your dues in Hollywood, so they decided who became famous. However, it's not going to work anymore because the fans have a bigger voice now. The fans are the ones spending money. It costs too much to make a movie to have negative press with it. And all I'm going to say is I'm really glad that Cynthia, who is one of the leading star actresses in Wicked, decided to give out an apology for her fans coming up with a creative art project in conjunction with the movie. I know for a fact that when I create my book, just like Harry Potter, just like Star Wars, there's probably going to be people who want to do things. If it ignites their imagination and makes them more creative, then I've met my goal. I've accomplished my agenda. You know, my whole book, the whole purpose of my book is to literally get you to to ignite your imagination. So, and on that note, the next thing I kind of wanted to go into was The next thing those are 2 points that Dustin actually touched on. And the third thing that I wanted to touch on was he brought up Jeffree Star and the stuff that's going on, because Dustin Daly and his partner have followed this makeup drama just as much. Like, I found their channels actually because of this makeup drama, and they have followed it for a long time. They were involved in it in a minute, and then, you know, they got smart. But when they mentioned Jeffree Star, there's something that I have been wanting to ask for a while, and I don't know if this is going to get to Jeffree Star, and I hope it does, because I'm probably wrong. Truthfully, I'm probably wrong. But if my angels are telling me the truth on this, because it's one of those things I need 70-30, I'm 70-30 on, I think it would be absolutely spectacular. But I used to do readings on a website called espchat.com. My name was Ella. And I remember doing a read where I swore it was Jeffree Star. Everything from the energies to the messages, I swear it was him. I remember telling him that he was aware, like, with what's going on in Hollywood right now. I let him know. He asked me if what he saw was true. I said yes. I actually told him that it equated to a lot of what I ended up running from, and the same people that were after him were actually after me, and I was able to get away from them only by leaving California. Then he asked me what to do, and I remember saying, and I'm not sure if this was Jeffree Star. I'm just repeating what I remember the reading being, because I'm hoping if he does come across this, it might ring some bells. The next thing I remember telling him is, he asked me what to do, and I said, go north and go back to your roots. There was something that your family did in the past that you could apply, because a lot of what, you know, animals are used. I'm here, like, they told me that the animals are used in a lot of what he was already doing. And then I remember mentioning something about like I'm hearing that every part of the animal could be used, from, you know, the tail to the tip. And then all this stuff started happening with Jeffree Star, where he moved out of Hollywood. He ended up starting a yak farm, and knowing how that yaks, from literally the tail to the tip, they can be used in cosmetics, makeup, and everything, and the meat. And I literally said to this person that I did the reading for, that you could become your own self-sustained entity by doing this. And it's like, that's what happened. So I don't know if it's just coincidental that I did a reading for somebody who happened to do this at the same time. This would have been between 2000 and between May of 2020 and December of 2021. And it was multiple readings within that time. So I don't know if it was him. I don't know if it was maybe somebody who just happened to have a similar life path as him, because yes, there's billions of people in this world, and that could very well be what it is. However, if I did do the reading for him, I would be super stoked, because if it was him, I can see that he's one of the few people that actually fully, wholeheartedly believed in what I said and ran with it 120%, and literally, like, he did the work. But I feel like I don't know. Did I shine the light on the path for that to happen? Because if so, wow, the confidence that would give me in my abilities, and it would just make me genuinely happy. I don't want anything from it. It would just be confirmation for me, and it would be, that's worth more than anything anybody could ever give me. So if there's anybody out there that watches my channel that knows Jeffree Star, or is aware of Jeffree Star, or anything else, and if he can, confirm, or he's probably, if it's true, just confirm it. If not, ignore it. Pay it no minds. I'm just a psychic that it was coincidental, and I have a lot of that in my life. So that was that point that I wanted to touch on. So I wanted to thank Dustin Daly and the viewer's choice. I wanted to thank you too, because it was in that conversation where all this came to me, and I was just like, I just wonder. And since I wanted to touch on everything else that you discussed in your video, I was like, that would be a perfect way to do that. So thank you. Also, if you have never seen Dustin Daly's channel or The Viewer's Choice, I highly recommend it. From what I understand, they are also law nerds. So there is that Emily D. Baker element that we have intermingled. But they are hilarious. They are funny. They are real. They are fact driven. They research all their stuff, and I love it. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is Disney. And I already touched a little bit on this prior to, but I saw most recently on Mike Zero's channel, because that's who I watch when it comes to, actually there's quite a few. Let me fix that, because there's quite a few. That Park Place is one place I have to give credit to. Mike Zero, Clownfish TV, Popcorn Planet. Those are the ones that kind of give me an influx of information in regards. Oh, and Clownfish TV give me an influx when it comes in regards to Disney. So what I'm about to speak on is kind of a combination of listening to all of those channels and all of their videos on Disney. We all know Disney's struggling. Well, we don't all know. If you didn't know Disney was struggling, you've been living on an island. Disney is struggling big time, from their streaming service to their Disney parks to their movie making to it. Just I feel really bad for Bob Iger, because he came in trying to fix all this, and I feel like it was so much in shambles when he got in there that, yes, acquisitions seem like the best way of going and fixing things. However, I think in the acquisition is where they fell apart, because I truly believe that the only reason that Disney succeeded in the first place is because they had duality. Disney was the imagination. His brother was the financial management. They kind of kept each other in check. I understand that this day and age, having that kind of duality is probably not that possible, because I could see that probably Walt and his brother had some smackdown, dragged out fights over stuff, because they both had a passion for it. So I think one of the biggest problems with Disney right now, if I was ever brought in and given my 2 cents, I would honestly tell them, you need to hire 2 people in place of 1. You need to find somebody who's got the Imagineering and the imagination like Disney had, who had the dream and the innovativeness. And then you need to have somebody who's going to hold the financial, like actually pull out the spreadsheets, go down the nitty gritty line by line item, and actually figure out the finances. And you need to cut where it's no good anymore, and you need to build where it is. And I can tell you right now, Disney, stop with trying to create your own streaming service. You used to be very successful marketing your programs out to other people. You have CNN. Rewrite. Nobody really watches CNN anymore. Rewrite CNN and make it half a kids channel. The whole reason that the Disney Channel succeeded is truthfully because they were a kids show. I remember watching the Disney Channel when I was a kid. Do I watch CNN? No. Do I watch any of the shows that are backed by CNN? No. But I actually went back and watched Kids Incorporated the other day. So and yeah, that's kind of what got me on this whole tangent of like, they need to go back to what they had before. Because I was watching Kids Incorporated, and truthfully, yes, even though as an adult, I had a very different viewpoint on Kids Incorporated than I did as a kid. I still broke down the whole reason why I liked Kids Incorporated. It was a complete fantasy, like Disneyland. Kids Incorporated was a group of like 12 to 15-year-olds that created a music band and played every night at a club, and then dealt with like, well, they weren't adult issues, but for my little 8 to 10-year-old mind, they seemed like adult issues. And it was fun. It was fantasy. They were, Wizards of Waverly. Like, you need to go to the things that are, you need to go back to the imagination, back to the fun, back to where kids and adults can escape into the programming and into the parks and into the movies and leave reality for however long that they can, because that was Walt's original dream. So, and I don't know how many times I've repeated that like, you need to get back to where the Disney franchise, all of Disney, is considered an escapism, because that's what it was supposed to be. I mean, even Walt's brother knew that. Why do you think he worked so hard to make sure that the money was there so Disney could come up with his imagination and didn't do these half-aid, the Bayou do it yourself at home projects that look like kids got elected to do it at a fair? It's a whole nother rant I could go into. Anyway, so we're going to end my little talking points on that note, and we're going to go into another sprint here for 20 minutes. If you guys aren't watching, if you guys are watching, I don't know who would be, but I've had some pretty hilarious facial expressions in the last sprint, simply because I don't know if it's probably StreamYard, because every YouTuber that's streaming these days is having trouble with StreamYard. But I had to literally almost turn off everything on Grammarly except for one setting so that it would run in the background. Like, it would actually work. Like, the lag time on it was so frustrating. And I was just like, at first I was like, Grammarly, this is ridiculous. I'm paying for this. And then I thought about it and I was like, no, like, Emily's been having this problem pulling up documents on, and it's because of StreamYard. Ever since StreamYard got taken over by the new company, it has gone to like there's so many people now that I know refuse to stream. They've actually stopped streaming because of how frustrating StreamYard has got. Yeah, it's nice you came up with all these new features, but then you sold it off to another person who can't give us the bandwidth that we need. No offense, but I am so tired of poor Emily D. Baker getting yeeted halfway through her stream. Before the changeover to this new company, I never had a problem with my videos glitching halfway through my streams, especially with my viewer count so low. I listen back editing my videos and I'm like, really? I'm glitching? I'm glitching. And I know and here's the other weird part. It's never during the times that I'm saying that I'm struggling with my Wi-Fi. Isn't that weird? Anyway, and I'm not the only one. So programmers, writers, HTML code people out there, create a new StreamYard. You will have thousands of people flooding to you. Just a suggestion. If I could write it myself, I would. Truthfully. If I could do it myself, I would. Hey, James. Nikolai. Y'all. Anyway. And there goes StreamYard telling me that my Wi-Fi is off. Of course. Of course. Oh, well, we're going into a stream, so it really doesn't matter. All right. In 3, 2, 1. And don't forget to mute yourself. That's the end of that one. So give me a second because I had my computer on prior to my stream, and my laptop is about to die. So I would love to be able to buy one of those new Mac minis that just came out, but I don't have $500 to spend. We're going to be working off a small screen now, and I'm going to have to bounce between two different screens for this. So give me a second while I set this up so it's more compatible, everything else with what I got to do. Bear with me, please. Hold on. Okay, I might have to end my stream early because my computer is now playing this game where it's not wanting to charge. So give me a second. Okay. Okay, give me a second, guys, because now it's... It is you. There you go. You done? Okay. I think we're good now. I think. Can you hear me? Everything's good. Okay, so this is why we live stream for background, and then we clip it down to the talking points, because yeah, this is the fun of behind the scenes stuff. So, and my laptop, I have to go get one of the ports fixed because it's playing that game where it's old enough where the port doesn't want to completely let it charge. So I only have one port that I can actually plug in to let my laptop charge. I need to take my computer in and get it fixed, but we'll get there. So welcome back. I hope all of you were able to get at least a little bit done during that sprint. I was able to get some work done on my book. I am happy with Grammarly. However, I think my issues are more with StreamYard than with Grammarly, because when I don't have StreamYard running, Grammarly works fine. But as soon as every time I tried to stream and have the Grammarly running in the background, it doesn't want to work. So, and I've heard from so many other creators that when streaming through StreamYard now, ever since they changed everything, that having anything running in the background, like StreamYard, just, it messes everything up. And I heard it also messes with your Wi-Fi. So like it glitches if you have too much running in the background, which is ridiculous, because with StreamYard, that's what you're doing when you're going live, is you're sharing information and doing things behind the scenes. So there's just the new owners of StreamYard just really just messed up everything, truthfully. Okay, so other than that, I'm going right along getting the editing of my book done. I'm already at chapter 3, and considering technically I've only worked on it for 2 days, the fact that I've completely been able to edit everything from the tenses to the verbiage to the spelling to the grammar to, for 3 chapters in like 2 days, I'm actually really impressed. I'm not counting the day that I lost all the information because my computer crashed and for some reason it didn't save. Actually, for some reason, yeah, Kibby figured out that I didn't have autosave set up. So now it's set up. So now it won't happen again. Why autosave wasn't set up on that particular file, I have no idea. But it's set up now. It's saving everything else. So I did get some work done, but I'm excited. Truthfully, I like editing my book, but when it comes down to the creative aspect, I can't wait for tomorrow because that's when I'm getting into the new stuff with book 2. And yeah, the outline for me is a lot more fun to do than editing my book. And I think for most writers, it goes that way. And my dingbat self, because the editing was going so well, I was supposed to be doing chapter notes and I didn't because I realized editing book 2 that yes, I have a lot of notes, but I need to make sure that I'm not, there's so much information in my book, and even the editor that I was working with figured this out very quickly. There is literally so much information within the first like 5 chapters of my book that gets recalled later on, even in book 2 and book 3 and book 4, that I really do need to create a chapter notes type thing because I thought that I'd be able to remember it all. But I'm realizing that I remember it all as I'm writing those scenes, not when I have to jump into it from somewhere else. And I forgot to do that. So once we finish up here and I'm done with everything here, I'm going to be, or after my sprint, that's probably what I'm going to be doing is chapter notes. However, we're going to get back into talking points since that is the second reason that I do these sprints. Is one reason to edit my book, and second to be able to talk about the things because I'm single and I'm putting out applications for the girlfriend thing, but I'm single and there's only so much that I can talk to people about all of this mainstream stuff without them just looking at me, rolling their eyes or not understanding. And I'm like, you know what? I can talk forever on my own. I think it's a talent to be able to talk forever on your own. So I'm just going to blah, blah, blah about everything that I'm interested in talking about. Which reminds me, I need to get my list back here. So we talked about Disney. We talked about the influencers. We're gone to, okay, so there, and the Y files. Okay, so we've got Mr. Beast, Gen Z job situation, and then the missing time. That's right. I'm actually going to go into the missing time because, well, I don't know. There's not many people watching. I was going to say, if you're in the comments and you're there, you tell me, do you want to learn about missing time of like 300 years that we might be missing in the past? Or do you want to hear about current events, Mr. Beast and Gen Z in the job field? But there's nobody here. So I get to choose. And that's the joy of running your own channel. You get to choose. So I'm going to touch on Gen Z's job thing. And then I'm going to go into the missing time because I think the Mr. Beast situation with Lunchley is just going to inevitably get worse. So shout out. I do want to shout out to Spill, the channel Spill Sesh, Dogpack 404, and Roseanne. Oh my gosh, I didn't write down your last name. I am a horrible person. It starts with a P, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong because I didn't write it down. Roseanne Puchimini. I'm so sorry. I will figure out her name on the next sprint. But I wanted to thank her because they are the people that are exposing Mr. Beast for who he actually is. I didn't follow him for a reason. I knew this was going to happen. When I first saw Mr. Beast and did a look down his lifeline, I went, nope, not following. But I think I'm going to save that one for later. So the Gen Z job thing, I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll get into that and then I'll show off my little toy. Gen Z jobs. I don't know if any of you have teenagers or college bound kids that are coming out of college or going into college. But this is something that I have been researching on the backside, because I've been currently trying to find a job. It's been 10 months. I've been trying to find one here in Spokane. Unfortunately, everybody wants full-time, and I can't do full-time. But I am willing to work like a 6-hour job. And I'm starting to realize that part of my struggle might be because of Gen Z. And here's why. I am a very efficient worker. I can accomplish in 4 hours what most people can accomplish in 8. Call it my hyperactivity and my ADHD and my way to tunnel vision and focus, whatever. But I am able to accomplish a lot of work in a very short amount of time. I've actually dealt with employers where I run out of work by my lunch period, and then by the rest of the day I have to figure out how to find work for myself, which drives me crazy. Hence the also reason I like being my own boss. However, listening to, and I want to thank Clownfish TV for bringing this up and doing a video on this, because I ended up doing more research once they discussed it. And what they're finding out, Forbes actually they did a panel on employers hiring people, the next generation. And basically they said that 15% of employers, large employers, from Sony to Hewlett Packard to all these big name companies, will not be looking at the college graduates to hire. And I wasn't surprised about this, because I remember my generation, I'm Gen X. I remember when we came out into the job field, they kind of had the same level of complaints of these kids don't want to do the job. They want to do their own thing. They want to, there was kind of the same complaints, but in a different way, because our generation was kind of revolutionizing how the workplace was going to happen because of computers, because of technology. Our generation coming out of college started a whole wave where computers were suddenly in the office and it was the norm. So yeah, we were actually learning how to restructurize the way to do work in the workplace, especially the office, because we had this new level of technology coming in called a computer. When you have to go from handwriting everything and mailing letters to emails and versus fax machines, and there is a level of efficiency and reorganization within the workplace that you're going to have to do. However, when I did, and I was thinking, well, maybe it's the same thing. Maybe because we have AI and everything else, that the younger generation is struggling with the same thing. However, what I'm finding out is kind of what I predicted. I predicted this in my 20s when we started with the participation trophy era. I call them everybody else calls them Gen Z. I call them the participation trophy generation, because I remember kids getting handed trophies just for doing events. And I remember saying to my mom, this is not going to equate in the work field, because you don't get an award just for showing up to work. Like, you're expected. Well, evidently that's exactly what's happening. And 43% of the employers that were interviewed said there is a lack of professionalism, just straight professionalism. Office politics, which is something even my generation struggled with. It looks like Gen Z has no clue how to navigate office politics. And yes, there is a such thing as political politics in the government, but there is a such thing for any of us that worked in an office. There's something called office politics. And it's a delicate strategic game where you can't buddy up on everybody in the office. Not everybody is there to be your friend. Like, you have to remember that you're not going to work to make friends. You're going to work to do a job, to make a paycheck, to come home and be with your friends and your family. That's what the job is supposed to be about. So, and then they're saying that 39% of them have poor communication, which I can see. I've actually complained in the dating field that a lot of these people I date can't hold a conversation. They don't know how to do anything other than respond with a oh, cool. It's like it's like they're text messaging responses in real person. And it's so difficult because I'm like, I would really like to have just a normal conversation, a normal, productive, intelligent, knowledgeable conversation with you, where maybe even we pull up our cell phones and start learning, researching things. Like, that's the kind of stuff that intrigues me. That's, you want to stimulate me? There you go. That's how you do it. And it's seeming like that, like almost 40% of, they're saying, again, this is Forbes doing their research, but they're saying that 39% have poor communication, and 50% don't have the motivation. And that I can completely understand. But here's the thing with that, and this is something that I actually discussed with my editor, because she was coming straight out of college. She is part of the Gen Z. And I used to tell her all the time how different she was. Like, I was astonished because she's one of those that, she was not any of these. She was professional. She was communicative. She was motivational. When real life kicked in, these things kind of got dampered, but from what I can see in her real life, she tried to navigate as well as she can. So this is just something where I see that 60% of employers fired Gen Z hires that they hired at the beginning of the year by now, because of the fact that they are unsatisfied with their work. And I can understand why Gen Z might not be so motivated to go to work. When you're looking at a future where Social Security is probably not going to be available for you, where having a 401k or a retirement plan, with the way the cost of living's going, the probability of that is slim to none as well. The thought of maybe even possibly owning property like a house, let alone a car, is a lot of them are having, because of how hard it is to just have what we thought was normal in the 1940s, 1950s, and even in the 1980s when I was born, is so hard to obtain now that Gen Z, I can see why they're not motivated. Why should I work when I'm looking at 40 years from now, I'm not even be able to have a house? I'm going to spend 40 years working my butt off just to stay exactly where I am. Put me on a hamster wheel. So, and I really hope that for the next generation, the world kind of betters itself. And I'm hoping that that's what this cosmic shift that just happened is going to do. I really hope that that's what's happening with, everything is like, the truth is going to be revealed, and they're not going to be able to sweep stuff under the rug anymore and make excuses. And they're going to have to fix things, because the truth is, if they don't, I can completely see a civil uprising. Like, I usually don't care that much about politics. I think I've only voted for presidential elections in my life. And I have never paid so much attention to what is going on, not only on our front, but on the world front, with Russia and Ukraine, with North Korea, with Iraq and Iran, and the Israels and the Palestinians. I mean, it's not just our country, guys. It's everywhere. And I'm really hoping that this shift makes we need a shift, because the poor, I mean, Gen Z is already looking at a future where they're not going to be able to own anything. What about their kids? And this is another reason why I chose not to have children. I could potentially have like an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 10-year-old. And truthfully, I think about that and I'm like, I wouldn't, what is there to offer them in this world these days? I mean, you can't even take them to Disneyland for fun without breaking the bank. I don't know. It's just so hard these days. And that's another thing, is like, I often wonder, is that why they're making the cost of living so hard? Because we are overpopulated. The planet is overpopulated. Even after COVID, we still have 8 billion people on this planet. Truthfully, COVID didn't even put a dent in our stuff. So, well, there goes TOS. Well, there goes any hope that YouTube's going to push this video. That's okay. It's not why I do this. Anyway, so I really hope that with the solar flares that are happening, with the karmic interjection, with the Schumann resonance causing bioelectrics to change, for people to have to endure energies that they're not used to enduring, I really hope that this causes a change in everybody's thinking so that we can have a world for the better. Because right now, I feel bad for Gen Z, and I don't even know how to feel for the next generation. So, that's my little spiel on Gen Z. And then, so that was that. To cross that out. And then transferring into that, or out of that and into the next thing, the why files. If you want to talk about conspiracies and why things might be the way that they are or are not, if you're like me and you really do like the whole conspiracy theory, trail or whatever, the why files. It is it's literally called the Why Files. And I love this channel because it's a gentleman and a hecklefish. It's a little fish. And what they do is he does major research into conspiracies, from falsified moon landings to aliens to the Men in Black to Area 50. I mean, all of it. He covers everything. And and he makes it fun because not only does he deep dive into the conspiracies, but the first half of his video is kind of like, almost, you kind of tend to believe that he believes everything that he's saying. Like, he goes into it almost as if, look, I'm a believer and I'm stating the facts to you. And then at the end of it, he actually pokes holes in a lot of the stuff that he brings up. And I love it because he does both sides. So not only is he like, here, I'm all about this conspiracy, here's the facts, here's what I believe, but then he comes in and goes, but what about this? What about this? What about this? And one of the most recent ones, because he took a break for a while, which really made me sad. And then his most recent one, he came back. I thought it was coincidental because when he was talking about this topic, which is basically how history might have chosen to kind of make up 300 years of our history. Just kind of decided to like jump ahead a little bit. And I found it interesting because this quote unquote missing 300 years just so happens to coincide with the timing of my book. And it's almost like my book was set in this missing 300 years. And it's like my book is the exposure of like them being hidden for 300 years and then suddenly being discovered, and we're in the modern age. That's what goes on in my book. But in the Why Files, in his, hold on, I'm gonna shuffle papers real quick because I have to. In the Why Files, they call it the Phantom Time Missing Years. And supposedly it was the year 614 to the year 911 that don't exist, that never happened. What they say is the Pope changed the calendar to bring it into the new century so that Pope Gregory, and I think it was Pope Gregory and one other pope, could start the new millennia. Basically, it would be the start of they thought that bringing it up to the new century while this new pope took over would be the start of something new and amazing. And there's missing, like, and it's true. I went back and looked. If you know, I'm a History Channel buff. I'm an archaeology buff. I love that stuff. And even I noticed that there's missing archaeological evidence for those 300 years. I also found that it kind of coincided with something I know about Irish history, where after inventing whiskey, the Irish seem to have 300 years where they don't invent anything until lawn bowling. And in my family, it was kind of like this running giggle because it was like, I'm half Irish. My grandfather's full-blooded Irish. And it's kind of like, oh, so our family just kind of wasted away, drinking a little bit for 300 years, huh? And then he came up with lawn bowling. I could see that. But I think it's interesting because it happens to coincide with this never happened time period that Pope Gregory happened to work with the Council of Nicaea to change. And if you know anything about the Council of Nicaea, the Council of Nicaea actually decided also on what what biblical documents would be kept within the Bible. They are the ones who took out Mary Magdalene's written word. There's several prophets that they actually took out the written word for, and the Council of Nicaea basically decided on Christ's actual birth date. If you actually look into the Council of Nicaea, lots of questions of who just thought they could just go ahead and do this, and that it would be like, it's mind-blowing to me of how we're so on like facts nowadays that this kind of something was able to happen back then, especially. Yeah. Anyway, it's similar to supposedly the Charlemagne, who was 46 years old, because this also coincides with what they're kind of missing, because Charlemagne, he was a European king. He only lived 46 years, which is as many years as I lived. And yes, there is this theory that there's no way that he could have accomplished as much as he had accomplished in his lifetime, because he basically advanced humans overnight. From the technology, the acquisition of land and everything else, for him to be able to pull that off in 46 years is one of those things where historians look back and go, okay, like Napoleon, like it just doesn't make sense for the time. In our day and age, possibly you could probably pull that off in 46 years. The stuff that I've been through in 42, yes, there will be a book probably in the future. I've been through a lot in 42 years. I've probably lived 3 lifetimes in 42 years. But we have the technology, we have the advancements, we have the ability. Like, time, I think, goes faster for us almost. In Charlemagne's time, I don't know how you could get just on horseback. I don't know how you could travel the distances he traveled in the time that he like that is where I started breaking down with Charlemagne, as I was like looking at the maps going, well, you were on horseback. How did you travel? Okay. Or yes, you could have done it from sitting from a chair too, but there's historical evidence that he was actually at these locations. Anyway, they're also showing that basically what they were trying to do is they were trying to bring into the new succession, because this happened to be the same time that the Jesus and Moses and the stories were being solidified, obviously, because the Council of Nicaea. So going into my conspiracies, what I think happened, true too, as well, is that they had to do something in regards to explaining a storyline that they wanted to make up in order to advance history and maybe negate the fact that we had some extra influence in the forms of gods, angels, and watchers that advanced us. And this was kind of their way of doing it, because if you also look at the history of Jesus, and there is missing years that coincide with the blind years. Okay. So from 12 to 30, there's no written information about Jesus. Like the storyline goes 12 with his father, and then suddenly jumps to 30 when he's a prophet and he's speaking. Joseph was able to decipher dreams. And I know this because Jesus's father, Joseph, it's kind of funny. This is kind of sad. Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, the musical. That's how I actually learned that Joseph was able to read dreams. Has anybody put together that obviously Jesus's father had mystic abilities just like his son? At age 12, Joseph disappears from Jesus's life. They don't know what happened. Like, he just kind of falls off in history. And I just think it's very interesting, because according to the Y-Files and the Council of Nicaea, the information that falls off about Christ just so happens to be at the same time that we're missing the years. So that is just food for thought. Enjoy. do some deep diving of your own into it. I'm open-minded on it. I just think it's interesting. I just think it's coincidental. I just think it's random information that, yeah. But food for thought, something to think on, interesting information. I do recommend going out and checking out the Wildfiles YouTube channel. He's exceptional in how he does his videos. He's been doing them for years, so they're not choppy like mine. They're actually professionally done. But anyway, so we're going to jump into our last sprint here. Because actually, yeah, we're going to jump into our last sprint here. Or are we not? Actually, no, we've hit the 2-hour mark, and I told myself I wasn't going to go past 2 hours. So we're going to end that there. I think we did 2 or 3 sprints this time. But for those of you who do enjoy the sprints, come back tomorrow. We will be doing this for another 2 hours. And tomorrow I'll be covering a little bit more about the share points because it's Halloween. So it'll be a little bit more of like a Halloween celebration type thing than a actual sprint sesh. But I wanted to celebrate the holidays a little bit with you guys tomorrow, since it is Halloween. So we might do a sprint, we might not. I'll leave it up to the group. We'll see if I want to do. I'm looking forward to editing my book or doing my outline because that's what I love to do. But for those of you who joined me today, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you guys coming in and watching and joining the live. For those of you who came for the talking points, thank you for coming. I hope I was able to fill your head with some interesting information and maybe get you thinking and get your imagination going. Please remember to like and subscribe and do the YouTube-y things down below. And other than that, I will see you all tomorrow. And Happy All Hallows Eve.